Hello everyone, it's that teacher here, and today's lesson is going to be on division with remainders as fractions. Let's start learning. Welcome back to the channel everyone. We're going to begin our lesson on division. Now, division with remainders as fractions is a concept that in some countries is required for students to learn. It's part of their syllabus for their education program. So we're going to cover this on this channel to make sure that the students are getting whatever they need. So let's move straight into the lesson. Now, knowing your times tables is absolutely fundamental when it comes to learning division. I've mentioned this in my previous lessons. It's super important to learn your times tables in order to be successful at division. Now, if you're not so great at your 9s, 11s, etc., those are the ones that you need to practice, okay? So whatever you can do to help yourself learn that, learn it, write it down on a piece of paper, practice in the car on the way to school, say it out loud, go on timestables.com, anything online, any online resource that can help you learn this, it's super important. Let's move on. Now, our first question is 2,374 divided by 4. So we're going to follow the exact same process that I've previously covered in my other lessons. Now let's move on. So how many 4s can fit evenly into 2? That would be 0. The next thing we need to do is combine the two numbers since we had 0 in the first number. How many 4s can fit evenly into 23? That answer would be 5. Now with the remainders, because we used 20 of the 23 numbers that we had, the remainders we have to put in the next column. You can see the 7 there in the tens column. We've moved the remainder in front of that 7, which creates a new number that would be 37. So now we need to find out how many 4s can fit evenly into 37. That answer would be 9, remainder 1. So you follow the same process with your remainders. You put them in front of whatever place value is next. In this case, would be the ones or units in some countries. So we've put the 1 in front of the 4 in the ones column, which would make the new number 14. How many 4s can fit evenly into 14? That would be 3. Now here we have 2 remainders, but the first thing we need to do, we're putting them in fractions in this lesson, remember. So whatever is your divisor, the number that you're dividing the bigger number by, so in this case is the 4, that becomes the denominator of your fraction. So the divisor becomes the denominator of your fraction. Now, whatever remainder is left becomes the numerator, the top number in that fraction. So we've used 12 of the 14 numbers, so we have 2 remainders. So remember, the divisor is put as the dividend, the divisor is put as the denominator, and whatever your remainder is becomes the numerator. So the fraction would be 2 quarters. Now some students say 2/4, that would be incorrect. When the denominator is in 4s, you're breaking the number into quarters, so you need to say quarters, not fourths, okay? Now, as with fractions, it's important to simplify. This isn't the simplest fraction that is possible with this series of numbers. So, if you divide both numbers by 2, you can see the new fraction is 1/2. Now, if you were to write 2 quarters in your test, I'm sure your teacher would probably mark that, right? However, the more correct answer would be 593 and a half, okay? So always simplify. I tell the students in my class that it's important to simplify regardless of if you think, oh, should I simplify, shouldn't I simplify? Always, to be safe, make the fraction as simple as possible. Let's go on with another example. So how many 8s can fit into 6? So the number here, 6,835 divided by 8. So how many 8s can fit into 6? That would be 0. How many 8s can fit evenly into 68? That would be 8, remainder 4. Remember, we put the 4 in front of whatever place value comes next. In this case, it's the 3 in the tens column. So that new number is 40. How many 8s can fit evenly into 43? That would be 5 with 3 remainder. Remember, the remainders go in front of the next number, whatever place value you're up to. In this case, the 5 in the ones column, you put the 3 remainders in front of that, creating the new number 35. Finally, how many 8s can fit into 35? That would be 4. However, so 8, 16, 24, 32. So we've used 32 of the 35 numbers. That means there would be 3 remainders. But like I said previously, this lesson we're putting our remainders as fractions. So remember what I said before. The divisor, which is the 8, becomes your denominator, okay? So the divisor becomes the denominator. Now the numerator is your remainders. So in this case, 3. Now 3/8 is the fraction. So the answer would be 854 and 3/8. Now we cannot simplify that number any further. So that fraction is correct. So that's how you solve a question like that. If you can't simplify the fraction, you just leave it with whatever you have, okay? Finally, we're gonna do one more example, then I'm gonna give you some questions. So, 7,000 divided by 6. Now, how many 6's can fit in 7? That would be 1. Now the 1 goes in front of the 0, creating 10. How many 6's can fit into 10? That would be 1, remainder 4, the new number is 40. How many 6's can fit evenly into 40? That would be 6, remainder 4 again. Follow the exact same process. How many 6's can fit evenly into 40? That would be 6. Now remember, following our rule, the divisor becomes the denominator. So you can see 6 becomes a 6th. It's a bit hard to say, to be honest, but that's one of the challenging ones. It's a bit of a tongue twister, 6ths. Give it a go at home. Try and say it like 5 times in a row to someone at home. You get a little giggle out of it. It's extremely hard. So your 6 becomes 6ths. The divisor becomes the denominator. Now, the remainders become the numerator. So we have 4th, 6th. Now, we can simplify that further because there's a number which evenly can be divided in both numbers. In this case, it would be a 2. So the new fraction, if you were to divide that 4 by 2, it becomes a 2. And if you were to divide the 6 by 2, that would become 3. So you have 2/3. So your answer here is 1,166 and 2/3. So hopefully this has helped you. It's quite an easy process. Just remember, the divisor becomes the denominator, and then whatever remainder you have becomes the numerator. And if you can simplify. If you can't, simply leave the answer exactly the same. So it's quite a simple process. Hopefully that has helped. Now here are some questions for you to do at home. If you get a piece of paper, try and work through it, try and see what you can get. And hopefully by following that quick and easy strategy and those simple steps to success, you will have nailed this concept of division with remainders as fractions. So here are the answers coming in. If you haven't already, pause it here, write the answers down and mark it with me. So here are the answers to your questions. Hopefully you would have nailed all of them, and I know if you follow those steps, you would have been successful for all of those questions. Thank you so much for watching the lesson. Our next lesson is going to cover division with decimals, so hopefully that will be helpful to you. Thank you for coming to the channel. It's That Teacher. We'll see you in the next lesson.